KGRA Digital Broadcasting and Pop Culture Minefield presents Dangerous Military Nerds. Dangerous Military Nerds. They're just like regular nerds, only dangerous. And now, your hosts, Don Ecker and Gerry Kissell. Warning. The following program involves discussions between military veterans. As such, it is almost guaranteed that there will be coarse language and crude subject matter. So if the words piss, fuck, cock, cunt, and shit offend you, or if openly discussing that one time you were butt-fucking your ex-girlfriend and her miniature pincher jumped up on the bed and started licking your asshole until you had the best orgasm of your life makes you uncomfortable, this might not be the place for you. Otherwise, enjoy.
Fucking Mac.
You got to send me that. You got to send me that.
I will. Mac just kills me. Sends me that, like I said, 1 o'clock in the fucking morning. He's drunk. I recorded this for your show. I think you'll like it. I'm like, I love it. It's great. Welcome to Dangerous Military Nerds on KGRA and Pop Culture Minefield. I am here with my host, co-host, Don Ecker. And this is a show. Ecker. And this is going to be an interesting show because I've got a guy I really admire. I love this shit. I watch all of his videos. Don Shipley. He has the Extreme SEAL experience down in, I believe it's in Virginia, where I'm from. I'm from Fredericksburg. So I'm going to talk to him about Virginia, see what he thinks about it. But Don is here in the back, and I'm going to bring him out here for you guys to meet. I'm hoping that this is going to be fun and that Don has a good time. Not this Don or that Don. Not that Don. Nobody cares. He's a curmudgeon.
I never have a good time.
Never have a good time. But everybody, this is Don Shipley. Hey, Don.
Hi, guys. How are we all doing?
Not unwell, thank you.
Yeah. That was a great intro. I'm usually cautioned before I go on radio shows of, hey, can you choose your words really carefully here? But go ahead. That's great.
We don't fucking care.
There you go.
In fact, that was one thing made clear by KGRA that we were concerned. Don was concerned about my language because I'm very foul mouthed, and he, you got to curb that language, Kissell. And next thing you know, the radio show's like, no, we're good with that. We don't answer to the FCC, and I'm like, oh, good, because I was terrified.
I've done a lot of these. I could spend a month in a convent and not even drop the word crap. So I'm good with this, but they warn me all the time. So we're good. Great.
Well, I always talk about.
Well, you know what they say about swearing like a sailor.
That's
yeah,
right.
I know.
Right.
And so I expect a little salt from you, mister.
Yep. It's a swearing is a talent. I mean,
it really
you
is.
Gotta really have it down pat. The only one who's better at swearing than me is my wife, and it's always directed at me.
Well, if you hear somebody start out by saying, you motherfucking slack-jawed, limp dick, take it up the ass, faggot, then you know what you got.
There you go.
So, Don, I want to welcome you to this show. It's so awesome. I've wanted to have you on the show. We've been doing the show for years. And I'm like, one day I'm going to get Don Shipley on. I'm going to get him on because you do something. Now, look, you've got your thing that you do there. And I am curious about what you do with the Extreme SEAL experience. I mean, is this something for former military to involve themselves, or is this for people that want to know what it's like?
We haven't run that course in a while. We relocated to Maryland. I ran that course very successfully for 10 years. It was,
and you were in Virginia, right?
Yeah, I retired from the Navy there. We spent most of my military time in Virginia, right in Norfolk. Had a nice little farm, training areas. I knew all the farmers. I had all the access. I had everything. And we did a good job. It was originally for young guys aspiring to be SEALs. And my first course had a carpet maker from
hoping that they would learn how to do it and then do better when they actually try. Right.
Or figure out real quick that this is not my cup of tea.
Right.
Your personality is not like mine. My timeliness, is there a lot of guys' first experience in something like that outside of their home, mom and dad, and they did really good. They did bad. You know, I did not want anybody leaving that course feeling bad about themselves. So we did a good job building confidence, but they knew they would learn, and it would save them a trip to the ever lengthening quitters line in Buds, or they would get more. You know, it's like hanging out with a quarterback. If you want to be a pro football player, you're going to gain some. You're going to make a decision. So.
Would you even like say it's kind of like going to football camp?
Yeah,
like
2
that.
weeks.
Yeah.
That course had a lot of hair on it. It was real dangerous. Those guys would spend 2 weeks down there trying to kill themselves, and I would spend 2 weeks trying not to let them kill themselves. And we got at it. We did a really good job. We ran a tight course, and we, you know, I know when the ride's over. I know when I'm getting older. It's time to retire from the Navy. It's time to let that go. So it was 10 good seasons, and we relocated to the Eastern Shore of Maryland. I joined the Navy 10 miles from here in 1978. So
Are you from Maryland?
Originally Pennsylvania. Grew up on a big farm.
Oh shit!
Dad was a fighter pilot, and
guess where he's from?
Captain, transferred here. So yeah,
he's from Pennsylvania.
Oh,
where about, Don? Where about?
West Allegheny, a little town called Clinton near the airport in Pittsburgh. My
Altoona.
dad flew there. So
I'm from Altoona.
Altoona, there you go.
Yeah.
And not only,
hey, I got a question. This is a SEAL question, and I'm a NOM vet, okay, and I've heard a lot of chatter over the years on Richard Marciniak. What's your take on him?
Oh, Marcinko.
He's rather famous or infamous?
Marcinko. The guys that knew him loved him. The guys that worked with him loved him. There's not, and Marcinko was that. He was a very big personality. He was decorated.
I heard it was his senior officers that had issue with him.
Well, yeah, he had a problem with them. And so that was kind of his downfall, you know, when you got into that. But very respected, very beloved. And yeah. It's,
good warrior. A good warrior.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, yeah.
What year did you join?
1978. I got to Great Lakes, Illinois on December 1st, 1978.
Now, was it still called UDT, or when did they actually call them SEALs?
Everybody went to SEALs, and, you know, just a brief one. In 1943, we got our start in beaches of World War II, and through Korea, and then into Vietnam. And then in 1983, they stopped all the underwater demolition teams, and SEALs picked up the UDT mission. We were go through the same training together. At graduation, you were either assigned to an underwater demolition team, or you were assigned to a SEAL team. Wasn't any rhyme or reason between it. And at 1983, SEAL team absorbed the underwater demolition team mission, which was a lot of ocean reconnaissance.
Because that's what Jesse Ventura was UDT. And because I watched your video on him, and it was really good video.
His brother was in UDT, and Jesse came on board with him, and they were just assigned. His brother pulled some strings, Jan, to get Jesse stationed with him, and they were in a UDT platoon together. And so they're right across the fence. It's one big happy family. And back then, a lot of guys would do the. When I look at the SEAL database and I'm looking at the guy actually did, it's not surprising to see that he served at SEAL Team 2, and then he went back to an underwater demolition team. He went back to SEAL. They would do that because the guys in UDT, a lot of them loved the Frogman title. They loved the UDT mission. They're basking in the sun, swimming in the Bahamas all the time, blowing stuff up. And so a lot of guys were really fond of that UDT thing, and they could care less about the SEAL mission. And one big happy family. Yeah.
Don, a couple of weeks ago, as a matter of fact, it was a story that broke, potentially a huge story, and then it disappeared almost as quickly as it broke. Seymour Hersh broke a story claiming that it was Navy underwater demolition teams that blew up the Nord Stream pipeline coming out of Europe into the Atlantic, I guess. Does that sound to you, as a former SEAL, as plausible, possible? Did you hear about it? And if you did, what do you think about it?
I heard that it was sabotage, but I'll tell you that underwater demolition team left in 1983. So wherever he got that underwater demolition team, he's already wrong because it didn't happen. And when I was a SEAL, I don't know how deep that pipeline is, but the furthest depth I did, because we were categorized as Navy divers, was 120 feet. But I only did that twice in all my time in SEAL team. We dove. If you were going below 25 feet, you were going to get in a lot of trouble. It was the oxygen. So I don't know any real SEAL that's qualified to go all the way. I don't know how deep that thing is down there.
Yeah, because there are gas mixes when you get deeper. I'm scuba certified too, and I learned that shit, and I didn't like it. It scared the shit out of me.
I don't know anybody that was qualified to go that deep or anything. There's plenty of other guys to do something like that, but it wouldn't have been this. Hell, we got accused of blowing the levees at during Katrina. We got accused.
I remember
of
that.
The World Trade Center. We got accused of the Boston bombing. I'd like to see somebody get a bunch of SEALs in a room together and say, guys, we want you to go kill a bunch of people in Boston. The soap bomb out there.
It never happened.
And so people get some real misconceptions. SEALs eat at Applebee's. We coach little league teams. Guys go to church. We're no different than anybody else, but people think we're these mindless robots that'll just do anything. We're a hard
no. That was never my intention to imply that. But as a special ops military mission, now basically at one point, and I don't recall how long ago, Biden was asked that during a presser by a reporter that, basically, and I'm paraphrasing, would you consider sabotaging or shutting down that pipeline? And he, in essence, said, well, it's something we might think about, or words to that effect. And then, lo and behold, it happened. So Seymour Hersh, now I've never liked Hersh's politics, but as a journalist, he's pretty damn good investigative reporter. And I was curious when he came out specifically stating that it was an American sabotage mission that somebody performed, and he kind of implied SEALs. So I was just curious about your take on it.
No, I got a guy. Who's the Ed Asner? Ed Asner doesn't like me, and I don't like him because Ed Asner would tell.
He's a commie piece of shit. So screw that guy.
He's dead.
He'd tell these ridiculous stories about his SEAL buddies telling him about these operations in Iran, just stirring stuff up. And no, they didn't, Ed. And so I'd call him out, and he'd bash me back and forth. But it's things like that, the conspiracy theory world, and not that you're doing it, but I don't know any SEALs that would have done it. I struggle to think Biden, as green as he is going to blow that thing up. But I don't know, poison all that. I don't know, guys. I'm out of my area, but nothing surprises me with these guys anymore.
Got to tell you, I agree. Hey, I want to show some pictures here, a couple of them. With you, and I like this one in particular, but this is a team picture of you I like. There you go. Can you spot Don Shipley in that? Your hair is the giveaway. You have like the coolest fucking hair ever.
I'm not sure. I can't see it.
You're on the, is it not showing?
Oh yeah. That's Liberia.
You're next to the far right.
Yeah, my buddy right next to me to the left just died a month ago. Young guy too.
Oh man, sorry.
That was off the coast of Africa in Liberia. So good bunch of guys.
Yep, and then I will share this one too. I like this photo too. Now I'm just going to mention I've talked to you before because I work for Dale Dye. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a chance of meeting him?
No, I'd like to. I love his acting.
There you go. Here. Well, it's eventually going to pop up here. Where did it go? It did not load. There it is.
There you go. That was.
What is going on here? You got some sort of award?
That last picture you just said we did a rescue mission off of a burning tanker, killed a bunch of guys, and I got the Navy Marine Corps medal for that, and it's the version of the Airman's Medal, the Soldier's Medal.
Yeah, you got a lot of color up there, buddy.
That's I did. I spent a lot of time moving around, man. So yeah, we did. So the all 8 of us got the Navy Marine Corps medal. So
that's awesome. You know, just anecdotally, I wanted to be a Marine Corps hospital corpsman. I wanted to be a corpsman in the for the Marines, and I went to the Marine branch, and they said, no, you got to join the Navy and become a Navy hospital corpsman to be a corpsman for Marines. I went, oh, okay. So I went and I talked to the recruiter at the Naval recruiter station. He's like, yeah, you only get about a 20% chance of being assigned to a Marine unit, 80% chance of just being a squid. And I'm like, oh no, I want to be a door kicker. I want to be with an infantry unit. No. And I felt so bad, because I could see the dejection on that recruiter's face. I went, oh no.
I don't know about that. The Marines, they get a lot of Navy corpsmen there, and
that's all I wanted was that. So when they told me that, I chickened out and I went Army and became a medic in the Army.
Yeah, there you go. Well, good for you as well. So yeah, the medic stuff, that was that rescue mission. My daughter got run over by a truck, terrible injury when she was just 2.5. And I didn't know what to do for her. Terrible. I don't know how she survived it. But I became the first non-SEAL corpsman to go through paramedic school. And I graduated the day O.J. Simpson was acquitted. That's how long ago it was. So when that rescue mission came up, I was not only the platoon chief, but the senior medic there for that. And I had another corpsman with me and an EMT. So, yeah, it was a good show. I got to put that, and I ran rescue in Virginia Beach for many years. So a lot of that volunteering, giving back for the guys that saved her. So it was crazy.
Yeah, and that's my old stomping ground, by the way. I went to Fate College at William & Mary and spent a lot of my downtime in Norfolk. And you can tell I'm from Virginia because I say Norfolk. Mm-hmm. Most people say Norfolk, and it's like, no, it's Norfolk. And I grew up in Fredericksburg. You know where that is. It's up north, right outside D.C. But what'd you think of Virginia?
Oh, I loved it. I really moved there because of my son. My son was born when we were in San Diego. I was at SEAL Team 1.
He served in the SEALs too, by the way.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sure. So I didn't want him growing up on the pavement. I didn't want him having a skateboard. I wanted to get him out how I grew up in the farm in Pennsylvania. And after a few years in San Diego, we packed up and came out to Norfolk. And I served that there. So we had a little farm. He had all the responsibility, and he did find a skateboard. No.
Man, oh man. Is he still in? What's going on with your son?
He was, he got a bugger eater throw a grenade at him and clocked his ass butt good, and he was medically retired as a SEAL.
Yeesh. Fragmentation? What? Wow.
Concussion is just the last injury.
Oh,
man. Really got him good. So.
Wow. But that's awesome. Pretty proud of him, I bet.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
And you got 2 boys or 2 kids?
A girl and a boy.
A girl and a boy. Did she serve or anything?
My daughter? No. My wife did. My daughter did not. She's married to a SEAL. So.
Did you meet in the military, you and your wife?
He got a Purple Heart a month ago. So.
Oh.
One big happy family.
Amen to that. Don's stepson graduated West Point.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. And by the way, we just had Rod Lurie on last week. You know him. He directed The Outpost.
Where do I know that from? I'm getting old.
It's the movie came out in 2020 about that battle at the I just forgot the name of the valley in Afghanistan. Where they're like
looked like a carbon copy of Dien Bien Phu.
They're like in the middle of a valley with enemy above them. It's ridiculous.
Wasn't it Kandak Valley?
I'm sorry, Martin. Your Venezuelan accent's throwing me. What did you say?
I know.
I like to tease him, Don, about it because he says, like, I know 99% of what he says, and then he'll slip out and say one word. Like he cannot say the word neuropathy. But when you retired, how many years did you put in?
24 years, 31 days.
But it wasn't a forced retirement. You just chose it, right?
When 9/11 happened, I was teaching demolitions in San Diego to Bud's class 2, 3, 4. If you've seen that Discovery Channel documentary,
I have.
I would go work their instructors and run the course, just blow that desert up. And 9/11 happened there, and I was older. I had done all my platoons in SEAL team. I was an instructor there now. To get out, get back in a platoon, I'd have been stabbing somebody in the back that needed that slot as a younger chief. But Blackwater take me. And I talked to a buddy of mine who was the detailer, wrote all the SEAL orders. And I said, Jim, what's the quickest you ever saw anybody retire at? And he said 30 days. And 20 days later, I was out. So I grabbed my stuff and ran with Blackwater and never looked back. So,
well, what was your experience with them like? Did you, because, they got in hot water.
Yes, they did. The experience.
I know there are a lot of honorable guys that served with them. And clearly you being an honorable man too. What was your experiences like?
There's nothing bad to say. I understand what Eric did. Eric Prince was let down by guys in my position. I was in a leadership position over there called a C1. You're in charge of those sites. And as Blackwater started getting bigger, one of the last things I remember Eric saying is, we're going to keep this all small. We're not going to run like the big guys. And it just, one thing led to another. Blackwater did such a good job of everything they touched. They couldn't have won those wars without him or come close to it. More and more and more contracts started coming in. And I think it got a little bit watered down. And for some guys in my position, long hair, machine guns, and blue jeans got the best of them. There wasn't a whole lot of rules, laws like that. I thought I ran a pretty tight ship over there. That never got the best of me or those guys over there. But as it went on, especially in Iraq, it just started losing it. And it's where Eric, a guy in my position, some of the guys, just let him down and let everybody down and let a lot of people down. It was a horrible shooting over there of people and women grabbing their groceries and stuff. It wasn't necessary.
Right. Yeah, it's a sad moment, but I know personally that there's a lot of guys. I've met a lot of mercs over the years and prior service mercs, really honorable guys, and I like a lot of them. I think some of the nicest guys I met were French Foreign Legion. You ever deal with those guys?
No. I worked with the French. We had something going on with those guys. But we worked the French version of SEALs are called Commando Iber, spelled
Commando Iber.
Commando Iber, and we'd work with those guys. I had a great time. I loved all special forces. All over the world. They didn't care what it was. The Thais, the Brits, the Dutch, the Aussies, Kiwis, all of it. And we had an exchange program at team. The West Coast teams would exchange with the SAS in Australia. One of ours for one of them. At Team 2, we would get a French guy, we'd get a German guy, we'd get a special boat service guy, and we would send guys there. They taught us some good stuff. Those Germans are breath-holding fools, and that when we go through some of their diving stuff, that's all they did. They just try to torture us with the holding the breath and all these insane drills. And you don't want to look bad in front of the guy, so you really put out. And then the Norwegians, we worked a lot with the Norwegians. Those clowns would come to us in the summertime, and all they wanted to do was go to Puerto Rico. They didn't want to do anything. They wanted their pasty bodies to get sun. They wanted duty-free, tax-free stuff to come back. And we were leaving our families. We're going to over here entertain you guys. Let's do something. Anyhow, we'd go to Norway. They'd stomp our ass right into the snow with that skiing stuff. Take us on these total death skis, just abusing us. And after all we've done for you guys, this is how you treat us. But had a great time with the Norwegians. And
I love Norway. And they do have Like, because Dale used to be the editor-in-chief over at SOF magazine. And so I used to, back in high school, I was like reading about the Norwegian special forces and stuff. And I was really intrigued by them. Are they pretty good on your score of 1 to 10? Where would you put them? Special forces.
Well, when you're looking at special forces, guys from around the globe, they need lots of money and they need conflict to prove themselves. The Greeks might be great special forces guys, but they don't have the Spartan at 300. 300, that's their last go around and things like that. So you had to look at that. The Norwegians are great guys. They had they're a very rich country over there. They put a lot into their special forces guys, but
no actual ability to test the skills.
That's kind of what I'm going at. The Norwegian, the Russian border is right there. They would survey the Russians for, I think their longest out was over 120 days. They're hiding in the snow, watching Russian activity across there. It was a long time ago, but yeah, they all have that. And you
would have thought they would have been ideal for Afghanistan.
I'm sorry, what the
Norwegians?
Yeah.
Sending Norwegians in there. They're part of NATO, aren't they?
They probably were over there. We had them with us in Bosnia and got in a lot of trouble with them, but that's that. We got a lot of trouble with everybody. There's just something about the group of special forces guys getting together, man, and it's game on. So we would do what's called a Spec War-X every year in Guam, and special forces from all over the world would show up in Guam, and it was all kinds of shooting competitions, land nav operations, and there were all kinds of things. And you would test each other. We'd integrate, go out on operations, jumping together, and there was plenty of time to suck a few down. So how I survived some of that stuff with those guys was.
Greater risk of going out with Norwegians than going into combat, huh?
yeah, we would find some mischief to get into. We did it with all of them, and just had a great time with them. Great time with all of them. So my favorites were the Thais. If you wanted to, we would go work at Thailand, and Thailand would put through one BUDS class a year. It was an exact mock-up of Navy SEAL training. They had one team, SEAL Team 1. And a guy I went through BUDS with, I went through BUDS training with 2 Singapore Army guys and 2 Thai SEALs. Don't ask me why. Those guys had already gone through their version of BUDS. But when I went back over there once, the guy I went through BUDS with was now the commanding officer of SEAL Team 1. And they took us out. You felt like you were in the mafia. You were untouchable with their presence. Everybody just stayed away from all of you. And the only other time I did that was in Las Vegas with the Henderson Police Department. I felt like I was untouchable. I could do anything I want going out with those guys. It was all the undercover guys that were there and just took you out and took good care of you. And you felt protected by them. Like, nobody's going to mess with these guys. So, yeah.
Man, that's and you bring up the number again. And I find that interesting because I was told through a buddy of mine, he's former SEAL who he invented one of the new shoulder straps that I don't know if anybody's even using it, but he sent me one. It was a really nice shoulder strap for a weapon. And he told me that after Extortion 17 that they did away with numbers and they started not identifying the teams because it's all about secrecy, not letting anybody know how many SEALs there are and how they're broken up. Is that true?
It make a lot of sense to me. I can check his name for you if you'd like.
Oh, I'd have to look it up again. I forgot his name. I haven't talked to him.
Some of that sounds a little bit strange. I know they got a little bit sensitive in a couple of instances of social media, alcohol incidents overseas, and tightened that up. But I mean, if you want to see the name of a SEAL, all you got to do is look at the.
Oh,
I think he got frozen.
And this is getting interesting.
I think we got
oh, there he is.
I don't know. Some of
I don't know if you can hear us, Don. You're freezing right now. little connectivity issue. But sorry about that, man. We didn't get anything you said there because you froze up.
Some of that sounded a little strange to me. You got to take it in how he told it to you, what he meant by that. But
well, what he was telling me was
there's
that
not
there
a
was
whole bunch of classified secret stuff that goes on in a SEAL team like that. You know, that you would think, these covert, clandestine things and all the secret guys. I mean, you know, that's where a lot of guys get their shit from. They're classified. There's no records of me, and that's all bunk. So there's a lot of stuff that the guys don't talk about. But
yeah, my favorite with you, by the way, on some of your videos, my favorite one is when you catch a guy in his bullshit and he starts going, well, you know, that stuff was classified. No. You call him out on that so quickly. And you went after a fake ranger recently, didn't you?
I've branched into all kinds. You know, if somebody's going to help me with it, you know, I can get it. So Rangers, Delta Force. Rangers, you always got to be careful with. It depends on the claim, because Rangers don't have to go through Ranger school to be a Ranger. My brother was a Ranger, jumped into Panama, never went to Ranger school. SEALs, you got to go through BUDS. You really got to be careful of who you call out, because they go to a Ranger battalion and they get qualified. And Ranger school is just a kick in the nuts for a lot of them. So Rangers, you got to be very careful with, but you can tell a BS story when you hear one. As soon as I hear the word sniper, you know, how many kills he's got, you know, I don't know, I just pick up on it right away, and I can already call BS to some of it. So.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, BUDS means basic underwater demolitions, right?
Basic underwater demolition school. That's how far back that goes. But during Vietnam, it was not called that. That only happened in the early 70s. So when I get some of the guys, you know, I say, what they call it back then? You know, BUDS, my BUDS class. Well, you didn't go through BUDS back then, you know. Different things like that. There's a real unique history. The guys will just come up with this stuff. I was the class of 89. Well, we didn't have a class of 89. We had 5 classes go through in 89. Which one was yours? And so, you know, they say some really, I really don't like stupid phonies. I really like if you've made an attempt to be a phony.
Put some work into it.
BS. At least make me work for it a little bit. And a few of them have, but never to the point of that.
Yeah, it's just it's a real problem with stolen valor. I had a personal experience with one of the men my mother married, and my brother Steven's Vietnam. He was a Marine in Vietnam, and this guy sold himself as like this decorated Vietnam War veteran, and photos, everything. And come to find out, he never served a damn day in his life. He was a con man, and man. I've had a hatred for those guys ever since.
We just got the records back on an Air Force guy that was claiming pararescue. I can verify a SEAL claim, I can verify a SWAT claim, I can verify a pararescue claim. And he is wadying some retired colonel, a woman. And I guess she's pretty well off, and he's taking her for a ride. So all his pararescue claims and all the combat and guys killing to smooth in, that guy served 2 weeks in the Air Force where they kicked his out.
Well, I don't know about Navy SEALs, but we always refer to Air Force as civilians in uniform.
I was with my wife in Miami, and we went to a hotel, and they had a big happy hour up there. It was a nice hotel. And as I'm walking into the happy hour, here comes this big lanky guy, and he is coming right for me with his hand out. And he shakes my hand. He goes, "I love your videos. I know who you are." And he's a real tall guy, real personal, real charming. And we got to talking for a minute, standing there. And he was he's an Air Force colonel, chaplain, Catholic chaplain colonel. And he's in Hawaii now, and he's the senior chaplain for all these things, and touring, going to Iraq, and all the other stuff that they do. He's just so nice. And I asked him, I said, who you traveling with? And he was like, would you like to meet His Eminence? And I was like, oh boy, you know, sure. So I got to meet Cardinal O'Brien. There's 2 of them. One's not so good, but this Cardinal O'Brien served in Vietnam. He was jump qualified. He would preach in all the remote special forces camps out there. the military and all that, and I was quite honored to do that. They were up there having a couple of scotches. And the next day he texted me back and he said, the Cardinal loves your videos. So I guess he showed him some of the videos. I was flattered by that. So I stay in touch with him. He's a great guy. He's probably going to make general. I think that would be the first Air Force chaplain.
By the way, if you guys have never watched his videos, my favorite moments are when the guy's talking and you just break the fourth wall and look right into the camera, where you're just like, this guy's really spinning some shit here.
Well, yeah, they do. They do.
And one of the recent ones I saw, and I don't know how long ago it was, I think it was recently, this year, when you ran into that one guy and his daughter's on the phone and you called him basically a shitheel and, with the daughter on the phone, and he got all bent out of shape about it. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yes.
How did that turn out? Because your buddy was killing me with the Vietnam.
Oh yeah. She figured that out real quick. And
has she communicated with you? I mean, I imagine she's devastated.
Well, let me ask you guys. Let me ask you guys
about it. So.
You guys a question. I went in the Army in '69, and I get out in '72. Okay. I guess I'm the old man here. Jesus Christ, I just realized that.
Well, you were already the old man.
But here's my point. When I came home, and a lot of guys in my area were all non-vets. My cousin was a non-vet. A lot of guys I went to school with were vets. We took a lot of shit when we got home from basically the kids, left-wing students and bullshit like that. And nobody in those days, and you went in '78, right, Don? You went in '78? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
A lot of those guys that came back like me for years, I barely would even talk about it because my old man was a lifer, 25 years. He retired as senior chief warrant officer, Army. All right. And when I got back, and this has been a bone of contention with me, when I got wounded, I got overrun. Okay. I was up in Quang Tri. We got overrun. This was in the beginning of the Easter offensive. And I got banged up pretty good. And when I got home, finally, and I got my honorable discharge, I needed somebody to talk to. I really did. And the only person that was willing to talk to me was my mom, which I would never do. I would never talk to her about that. But I went to my old man, and he and I had a hell of an argument when I went in, because he didn't want me to go to Jesus. He didn't want me to go to Vietnam anyway. He was a two-war vet, World War II, and then he got recalled for Korea. Well, I came to him one day and I said, hey, let's go out and have a beer. I'd like to just sit down and bullshit with you a little bit. My father, and he turned me down. And I've never forgotten that, and I've never forgiven him for it. He's dead now. Okay. But that's something that's stuck with me. You can see in my eyes probably right now. I'm still really bothered by that. But suddenly the wall goes up in '84. And suddenly all these fucking Vietnam War heroes come out of the woodwork. I was a SEAL. I was a Green Beret. I was this. I was that. What the hell do you think caused that turnaround? Because up to that point, all right, especially Hollywood, had all of us painted as a bunch of drug-using baby killers. And the first honest goddamn show, you probably can tell, Gary, this is sticking in my craw.
Yeah, you don't sound cranky at all.
You know, it was Magnum PI. Tom Selleck was
That's
the
right.
first son of a bitch that portrayed the war veteran at that time in an honest light.
In a positive light.
Yes, positive and honest. So, what's your goddamn idea about how all these stolen valor ass wipes came out of the woodwork?
Well, we started to really, and deservedly so, really take care of the Afghanistan, Iraq vets, and we knew you were not. So there was a lot of shame for people seeing how you guys were treated back then. Everybody feels terrible about it, and they're always telling you, welcome home and different.
Welcome home. Like thank you for your service. All that. Yeah.
Yeah. But these guys, when they started grace, I have the word for it, just really taking care of them and thanking them for their service, the Iraq and Afghanistan vets. The old guys came out that did not get that and didn't deserve it at the beginning. And now they're all turned into Vietnam vets. And I will tell you that an area that you say you served in, conflict, really will get people's hair up on the back of their neck. Vietnam is one. Jungle fighting, ninja assassin guys, the heat, we all seen those movies. Afghanistan does the same thing. Guys really like telling stories about North Korea. Nobody's ever been in there. We were in Iran. They tell a lot of these crazy stories about countries that will set their people's hair up like, oh my God, it must have been terrible. But there were less than 300 SEALs. I think it was 270 SEALs served in the entire Vietnam conflict over there. And there's just
how many?
Less than about 270, we estimate.
Wow.
A lot of those guys were going back for their second tour, third tour, things like that. We didn't have that many. We only had 2 teams back then, Team 1 and Team 2. But it flows now. See, back then in Vietnam, you guys didn't have the internet. We didn't have when I was in. We had typewriters type up our reports. Now guys can you could only project your stuff down a bar stool to your dad. You couldn't get it out anywhere. Now they can be anyone they want to be. And different movies. I know that when John Wayne and the Green Berets came out, guys would do the Green Beret thing. The Hunt for Red October, everybody turned themselves into a submariner. Top Gun, they turned themselves into fighter pilots. And every time SEALs do something good or do something bad, we're the number one targeted group in the nation. It's just underachieving guys who just have to stand in line and feel like they need to get their butt kissed for something they didn't do. And so it's terrible, but it's a lot of the movies. I'm forced to watch every war movie that's out there, good or bad, just to catch the stories. But that's where it comes from. There's so many imposters now, young guys, based off of what you guys did. There's so many guys that claim Vietnam because of what the thoughts of Vietnam were. And you watch Platoon with Charlie Sheen and all that, and you're like, oh my gosh, and we really did treat these guys bad. I don't think anybody got the Vietnam experience until more recently. I mean, recently, but you mentioned the 80s when it started coming up and the time life, things like that. So, everybody feels real bad about it. They're not going to let it happen again.
And I think that does, because I know that part of the reason why, we started hearing, because nothing makes me more uncomfortable than when somebody says, thank you for your service. I just feel awkward because I'm like, I serve for my own personal selfish reasons. You shouldn't thank me.
Well, it's water off a duck's back with me because it's 50 fucking years way too late. Okay. And my car, my automobile here in California, I'm in California. I'm 100% combat disabled. So I qualify and a Purple Heart. I qualify for a Purple Heart license plate, which I have on my car. And I've had it since I got it back, and I think it was 2004 or 5. And it transfers from, one car to the next car. And I think twice in all those years, and it's going on almost 20 years now, I've had 2 people come up to me and say, thank you. For what? Well, I see you got a Purple Heart plate. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, you're welcome. And, but it means nothing to me. If they had wanted to thank me, They should have thanked me in 72 and 73. And that's how I see it. So I don't get uncomfortable with it. I just don't give a shit.
Yeah. Well, my brother went through the same thing when he got back from Nam. We went to pick him up at the airport, and there were people there protesting and yelling at him. And I was like 5, I think 6 years old, and I was like confused, like, why are those people yelling at my brother? I don't understand that. My brother was my hero. But we are coming up on the first hour here, and we got to go to a commercial break. But before we do, I wanted to read some super chats. We have a live audience that actually like messages in. You do it too, Don. So let's see. Let me go. We got 4-star ones. Guess who did some super chats? Mr. Ecker. Can you guess who did it?
Who?
Christian Delorme. I swear to God, Christian starts drinking beer, Pabst Blue Ribbon. It's his favorite drink. He's Canadian, and he just starts throwing money at our show like we're a cheap stripper. So Christian sends in $5 Canadian badges. We don't need no stinking badges. Thank you, man, for the super chat, buddy. Let's see, what's his next one? I'm swearing like a trucker, because he is a trucker. He's a Canadian trucker. Love you, buddy. Thank you again for the Canadian $5. And,
all the way, Christian, all the way.
Penny has a little comment here. Oh, Raquel Welch died this morning at 82.
No.
Damn.
Yeah,
that woman, bad. I thought she was going to live forever, man. And she's still
honest
gorgeous.
To God.
That's sad. Thanks for the shitty news, Penny. Oh, and Christian Lorme for another Canadian $10. Hey, boys, why do women prefer sleeping with truckers instead of U.S. military? We always back up before unloading. Love from Canada. I swear to God. We have a great audience, Don. It's so funny. I've got 2 Dons here. So I'm like, Mr. Ecker. I'll just call you Mr. Ecker this show.
Sergeant, God damn it.
Sergeant Ecker. It's like, someone was asking me, what was your rank?
And by the way, I got the goddamn military ID card to prove it.
People ask, like, how did you, because on my DDD-40, it says my rank was E2. And they're like, how did you fuck up that badly that you ended up going out as an E2? And I said, I processed out early. I tell people, I've told it a few times, I left active duty to raise a kid. While my wife, who was in with me, we served together, she stayed active duty and I stayed home with the kid because she did not want to raise a kid. She's like, I'm not into those things. They smell funny.
My wife is about to get her last ID card this year. So I guess they figure now, well, you guys have been together for so long, there's probably little chance that you're going to try to sneak in the commissary with an expired ID or something. So
Right.
We got to take her over to Annapolis, get her last ID card, and we're set.
Yeah, if you lose it, man, good luck getting a replacement. I tell you.
I did.
By the way, for your all your super chats there, that last one was $10 Canadian. I'm going to give you a couple of military thank yous. Here you go from Family Guy.
Here's your free cup of coffee from a lady in Rhode Island. What?
You working with Demolitions. You should appreciate that one. And then, of course, I did this one for Don because it's Vietnam.
You got any good stories I could tell him about how cool Nam is? You know, there's lots of things you expect in war. Carnage, the sleepless nights. But what they don't prepare you for is the incessant use of Fortunate Son.
Hey, before we go to break, I did want to ask you on entertainment. Do you have any favorite military shows or films of late?
Yellowstone. I don't know.
Yellowstone.
I can't think of a single military show that I'm watching on TV. It's certainly not SEAL Team. I don't read SEAL books. I live that stuff.
Yeah, SEAL Team is more like Rangers because the guy that's their military advisor is a Ranger.
I'll tell you, the thing about what I do is I am super detailed with military awards. I know when anything's out of whack on you. I know all the awards. That's how I do. And Yellowstone twisted me. When I see a war movie, like you won't see that with Dale Dye. He's on this of, this Marine uniform, his ward's all jacked up. You're going to have military advisors on there like that. But that Yellowstone, what's his name? The young guy.
Taylor Sheridan.
No, the son.
Oh, the kid that plays the son that was in a wreck.
He's supposed to be a SEAL. He's got the SEAL trident on. He's got the Navy Cross Silver Star. If you watch the original episode, they're completely out of whack. And he starts telling his dad a war story about getting his weapons sergeant killed in Afghanistan. Who is researching this and looking at it? Most people wouldn't have got it, but I don't stand up and start screaming about it. But I have expected a little bit better out of somebody being on there going, hey, SEAL team doesn't have weapons sergeants and stuff. So,
yeah. Another one that we watched that I was very fond of. One I wasn't was Echo 3. I think it's garbage. The military advisor on that's just crap. And I've got a friend that's in the show. My buddy Fahim Fazli. He's always playing Taliban. That's what he does. He plays Taliban. But I like the show with Chris Pratt. I just forgot the name of it.
Terminal List.
Terminal List. I actually
like
really
Hill
enjoyed
Street
that
Blues.
show. Hill Street Blues is great.
I will check that out.
Yeah, it's interesting because they had SEAL members of the SEALs on set constantly for any of the military stuff that they show in the show, and I think they had as many as 6 Navy SEALs on set to make sure things were accurate. And the guy who created it is, of course, former Navy SEAL. I think he's retired. Wrote the books.
I wasn't aware of that. I'll have to take a look at that. That was the beauty of the movie Navy SEALs when that came out. It was all filmed in Norfolk, and they had all the guys SEALs teaching them how to walk, talk, carry the gun, SEAL lingo. They were all the backup guys in the aircraft, and then the kill houses were all SEALs done in Little Creek like that. So, yeah,
yeah, and I got to tell you, I was sitting at dinner one night with Dale and Julia's wife, and we were sitting around talking, and I said this. I said, a lot of people talk about if they go back in time, they'd kill Hitler. I said, you know what I'd do if I go back in time? I'd kill Charlie Sheen right before he made Navy SEALs.
Well, he, I guess, went out with a bunch of the guys and was running his pipe, talking shit around all those guys, and a guy from Team 4 punched him straight off of the bar stool.
Nice.
So in Charlie Sheen form, he bought everybody drinks the rest of the night. So he's not all that bad. And did a good job. He's
my favorite in there is Michael Biehn, who's one of the main guys in the film. Bill Paxton was great. He plays the team sniper, and but the funny part about that film, and I dare you, plays God. That was his call sign. But my favorite thing about the movie is Michael Bihn's the worst on-screen driver I've ever seen. Close-ups when they're talking, he's looking back at Charlie Sheen and is doing this shit on the wheel.
There you go.
Steering like crazy. It's like they're supposed to be going in a straight line. I always love that. But it's before he did that, when he did the film, he played a Navy SEAL again in The Abyss.
Yes, that's right. I didn't like that too good. And that's where the other
it makes it. Cameron doesn't like vets. He's a piece of shit. I don't like him. Fuck him. Fuck that guy. But I highly recommend
what you really think. Come on.
Yeah, I don't like. Look, I've got opinions about, even with Dale. Dale knows this. I don't like Steven Spielberg. I said, yeah, he can do a good World War II movie, but you don't see him talking about any other vets. Never. That's all he wants to talk about. And it's like, we had other wars, motherfucker. People fucking went out there and gave their lives for other stuff. But he won't do it. He won't talk about it. So, fuck Spielberg. But I got to tell you, we got to go into our break now, Don. And I'm enjoying having you on, dude. I knew this was going to be fun having you on because you have got a great personality, and I just love your show when you're doing those things, going after these assholes. And it's really good stuff, man. And stick around. We'll be back after this commercial break. Chanel, take us away. She's like Calgon. Hi guys, this is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Behind every folded flag is a family. When American lives are lost in defense of our freedom, TAPS is there to help the friends and families of those who have served and died. TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for survivors. We provide help, hope, and healing every day. Visit us online at TAPS.org or call 1-800-959-TAPS.
Are you looking to go on a faraway journey that is magical and mysterious, reaping on mystical legends? If so, then Mysterious Adventure Tours is perfect for you. Imagine a voyage to explore ancient mysteries of Ireland, haunted majesties of Scotland, or their chilling Birth of the Vampires in Romania. These small, esoteric getaways are limited and do fill up fast. So, go to MysteriousAdventureTours.com and book your trip soon.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Oh, wow, we survived. Welcome back from the commercial break. Now for some more pop culture minefield on KGRA. I know that's a ridiculous voice I did there. Before we start the second half, I want to thank some of our chat. Tommy Ulrich, a friend of mine from Facebook, Andy Morrow from the UK, Scott Lewis, whom I live with, Penny, that's Danny's mom, Dork Knight, Bush McFadden, Christian Delorme, Monkey Jibus, thank you, come again, Dragon Ruse, Parrot Head, Zacharot 315, Joe's Atmosphere, fellow veteran. I salute you. And that's all we've got on the list so far. Fun show so far, dude. Man, Don, thank you so much for being here, man. I mean, that one down there. I expect you here, Don.
Be careful what you expect, Gary.
Yeah, I know, right? He keeps warning me. He says, curb your expectations, my friend. Quit being an idiot. I'm like, hey, man, I've been doing it for like 58 years. I think I'll keep being an idiot till I die.
Fucking kids. Fucking kids.
But look, man, again, I want to thank you for being on here, and I hope to have you back again. I'd like to do an episode of just the highlights of the shit you've done on YouTube. just collect some of the highlights of some of the episodes you've done. You've been doing this for a long time because I've been following you for a decade.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a very long time. I guess I'm good at it. How it started was I really don't like religious phonies. The guys that'll wear that crucifix around their neck because everybody thinks, oh, he's a holy man. He would never lie in hell. He wouldn't. And I don't like guys that give training advice to young guys who aspire to be SEALs when they never had the balls to do it themselves. They tell these horrible stories. So I had that from some old degenerate was telling this kid some training tips. And I went after him, and he threatened to have me killed by his uncle in the Gambino crime family. And that's how phony Navy SEAL of the Week started. I really went after that guy. And I never intended it to do anything much more. It just took on a life of its own. And most of the time I'm just verifying. You send me a name of a guy, it was your gym teacher, your neighbor that's running his mouth, or the president of the VFW, and I just verify that name, and whatever you do with it, you do with it. But when I get a lot of meat on the bone and I can get some help, I'll really go after those guys. So, yeah.
Yeah, I actually, I'd be curious because, there's this gentleman. He's passed away now. He was a World War II veteran, and he was the equivalent of what SEALs were in World War II. He said, and he would scare the shit out of me. I was young, and he would we'd put heads on spikes kind of stories, and I'm like, why are you telling me this? I'm your artist. I don't need to know this. And I was always curious if he really did serve. And
well, I could pull it up, but that's a kind of a strange story. It's UDT guys. They were swimming up on the beaches and laying mines. Korea, they started to come ashore and perform saboteur ops. My brother-in-law used to tell this story, and I never had the heart to. Is just a guy he admired so much was in underwater demolition team in World War II. And he was overrun by the Japs, and he let 3 of them go over the top of him, and then he turned around with his pistol and he killed them all. No, dude, that didn't happen. So, yeah, some crazy stories out there. The wilder the story is, the easier it is for people to believe. How could you make that up? It has to be true. And I've heard them all. And I've really heard some strange ones that require a lot of, I don't even know where they think this stuff up, but yeah, it's a terrible.
It's called
stuff.
tequila, Don.
Tequila.
Yeah, we got one of your air now. It's a book. I'm getting ready to sink my teeth into him, called Shadow Seal, and it is the biggest. I don't know why, how anybody could have printed that garbage. That guy wrote him. He was when you read it, and from my experience of that, he was just a career an enlistment screw up in the military, and they got rid of him. But it's a terrible, disgusting book. It's
called Shadow Warrior.
It's called Shadow Seal.
Oh,
it's about a guy that says he was one of the first Black SEALs. He was more afraid of the guys in his platoon than he was the Kong. They were always threatening to kill him. And this guy tells this story about masturbating into one of the guy's socks that he did not like. He hated this guy. Now, I'll tell you what, there's some effort right there. How do you do that into a filthy sock? Where do you come up with these stories like that? But that they would always feed them special meals before they would go out on missions, and they never fed them corn or peas. And you can read into it why they would not do that, because of what they would leave behind, and the VC would find it. And it is just these, how do you think that disgust up? But I don't know, that it's just disturbing. And it's in print, and it's got some reviews, but I'm going to review it myself because I got it and I read it. I'm getting mad now over what people can believe sometimes. I've had so many people contact me, especially women, when it finally registers and they seek to contact me and they go, I just want to apologize. I have had the worst opinion of SEALs since meeting this guy. It was like how disturbed you guys could be, how you could let somebody like this scum into your ranks and embrace him. And he's a phony. It never happened. But finally it catches up to them, but really disturbing. And the disturbing stories, they really do a number on recruiting. Some of the stories they tell these kids, the horrors, and the guy did the Elmer the Crucifier. His whole platoon was crucified by this VC in Vietnam, and they used to tie women up and let rats eat their vagina, and they just say, well, where do you come up with this stuff from? And people, who would have trouble believing that? Oh my God, you can't make a story up like that. And they do. It's really ridiculous. I did the one guy. I'm getting really worked up about it. He would tell these stories. He worked for Coca-Cola, and they were all afraid of him. That Coca-Cola. His commanding officer in Iraq used to make them all take cocaine, and they would hang from the rafters and cut Iraqi throats when they came through the door. And I got him fired for telling those stories. Everybody was afraid of him. The guy that was shot out of a cannon on a ship over North Korean lines, people believed it. Finally,
shot out of a cannon.
Yeah, off the deck of a ship. Off the deck of a ship. Fucking God. Guns. And all these guys get undone because they tell the wrong story to the wrong person. And especially Marines, you can't lie to a United States Marines. I don't know what they feed those guys in boot camp, but they are the most skeptical guys of anything anybody tells them. And it's always that. You'll tell the wrong story to the wrong person, or you tell the story a different way a couple of times, and your girlfriend hears it. Well, you said that happened in Iraq. Now you're saying, it's things like that, and they get twisted up. But it's a couple of the tells are, if you're a veteran and then you get that guy, he's avoids talking to you. So you either get a phony that talks a lot, or you get one that doesn't talk a lot. And the one that doesn't talk a lot leaves the mystique of how much horror he's seen, all the bodies and the killing that he has. You're like, he doesn't like talking about his. He doesn't like talking about his service because he don't want you questioning him. He knows you served in the Army, or he knows what you did, and he doesn't want boxed in. So I really don't like talking about it. And it's just things like that get these guys burned every time. And then, they're contacting me.
Yeah, I got to tell you, my Uncle Red, I love that guy. I really broke my heart when he died. He was a Marine in World War II and served in the Pacific. And he would not talk about it. He would not talk about it until he was relaxed drinking. And then things would slip out, and he wouldn't say much. He would just say something, then he would get real quiet. And that's why we never doubted a damn thing he ever said. He'd say something that sounded like right on the edge of being horrific, and he'd go, but I don't need to talk about it.
A lot of guys don't do that. A phony SEAL will walk up to you within a few minutes and extend his hand and start telling you SEAL stories. Navy SEALs don't like doing that. And it's for the same reason of those war stories. It's the reaction they get from people. They don't like that reaction. I don't like that reaction. It's like, you're a SEAL, don't kill me. It would take you about 5 questions before I tell you I won't avoid it. But if I met you on the street or something, you'd ask me what I did, and I'd say, well, I'm retired. Oh, retired from what? The Navy. Oh, Navy. What ship were you on? Well, I wasn't on a ship. Well, where were you stationed at? Little Creek. Well, what'd you do? I was a SEAL. And because people give you those really strange reactions, and you can't talk to somebody about free falling out of an airplane at night, at locking out of a submarine. It makes you sound arrogant, braggadocious. It's something they will never do. And
or full of bullshit.
Yeah, there's no point in talking about it. And guys learn really quickly. The other thing is people don't like hearing the stories. So you stop telling Hell Week stories the minute you become a SEAL, because people just start dazing off. They don't understand the cold water or why you would do something like that. So guys just clam up about it. They won't avoid it, but they don't like talking about it. Phonies do. They love that stuff. So.
No, I get it. It's like people, when they hear my stories, they're always cheeky and funny. Because I was involved in first I was at the 29th Infantry Division out in Virginia. I was at Fort Belvoir. And then I transferred out to California to be with the 308th Med Ambulance. I wanted to be with other medics. I just enjoyed that. And I just wanted to be a medic. That's all I wanted to be. And I got an ambulance. We were the first team to get Humvees, 1990. It was nice. Got certified on those. Great vehicle. And but like my daughter says, you got any war stories? I said, honey, I didn't go to combat. I didn't do anything exciting. I did a lot of stupid shit. I can tell you those. I was constantly doing stupid shit because I'm a comedian and I'm always fucking around, and I was notorious for fucking with new officers, guys fresh out of Oklahoma cocksucker school. They'd show up and they want that fucking salute, second lieutenant, and I'd throw them, especially reservists, I'd throw them a left-handed salute to fuck with them. And I think the funniest thing I ever did was we're out on my unit was on McClellan Air Force Base. We had a little strip mall. On one end was the 321st MASH, or as we call them, the 320 Worst. And then ours was 308th Med Ambulance. And we're out there PMCSing the vehicles. And I'm sure you use the same term in the Navy too for working on your vehicles.
PMS.
Primary maintenance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was working on it, and it was hot as fuck. So we were allowed to unblouse our cargo pants and take our top off. We're just wearing a t-shirt, no headgear. Now I'm underneath that hood, and this second lieutenant's walking by, and I turned and looked at him from under the hood. I said, "Morning, Lieutenant." And he about face walked up to me, and he says, "You got a problem, soldier?" I grabbed some cheesecloths. I'm wiping my hand, and my guys are all standing there watching this. And this is pure fucking bravado, because that's who I was. I said, "No, I don't have a problem, Second Lieutenant. Do you have a problem?" And that was all I said. And he goes, "Sorry, sir." And saluted me and walked away. And my guys are like, "You're a fucking private. How do you do that?" I said, "I don't know." I just felt
most
like
in that 24 years, and I get into it because so many of these phonies talk about striking officers. The most I ever saw anybody do was when I was in the fleet. Our executive officer was taking a tour of people on the assault boats, and he walked past the guy that was in charge of the assault boat, like an E5, and he stood there for a minute. And he goes, "Where's my salute?" And that guy went, "You want another one?" And in front of those people. And that is the most insubordinate thing I've ever seen anybody do to an officer. You know, it never happens. But so many of these phonies talk about you got to listen to the whole story, but being dishonorably discharged for striking their commanding officer for refusing to kill women and children, or just these really insane reasons why they justify that. And I always explain to guys when they see that, there's always truth to these stories. You have to sit back and listen to it. The truth is he was dishonorably discharged. The bullshit is he was never a SEAL. He never refused to kill women and children, but he's trying to justify the bad discharge, BCD or dishonorable. And
because that's what happened in that one case with you where he was saying that shit was top secret. And it's like, no, it's not top secret.
Yeah. So they tell you it's top secret, then they start telling you the story, you know, like, okay, whatever. But
part of the reason, Don, part of the reason is Richard Nixon. Okay. Do you know what I mean by that? Richard Nixon.
This could be it, guys. Keep your ears. You might hear the word son of a bitch. Nixon did away with the draft. Okay. Made it an all volunteer. And that's been 50 years ago, 50 plus years ago. He did away with the draft, all volunteer service. Today, nobody has skin in the game. Okay. The veterans compared to the rest of the populace, very damn few. Very damn few. So I think it's what
these assholes think they can go out, huh?
I think it's 2 million right now still alive. Veterans.
These assholes can go out and spin bullshit for the civilians, and the civilians know no better and don't want to know any better. That's my take on it.
When you talk about the draft, I don't know what they're planning on doing because they can't get anybody in the military anymore. But they're going to have to relax the standards, and good for them. When I joined the Navy in 78, we were the all-volunteer force. Everybody seemed to have been running from something, and they would just join the military, and they would do a good job. And the 1 in 10 that didn't is why they made dishonorable or bad conduct discharges. That's how guys would get a second chance. It doesn't take a lot for you to fill a soda machine on a ship or carry a rifle in the Army. And they're setting the standards so high for these guys. Zero criminal background. You know, I don't even think they take, I quit school and joined the Navy. I don't think they do that anymore. And they need to bring that down again, because there's guys that make mistakes out there, and the military is how they correct that thing. They grow up and they mature in there. And these recruiting goals for some of the simple stuff, you drive down the street and you look at all these guys fighting age that are hanging out in the street, getting in trouble because they can't get a job or do anything. And no, they're being this all volunteer thing is, because the guys are chubby now and couch potatoes and things like that. We're missing recruiting goals. And I'll tell you what, there's a bunch of Chinese out there that don't really care that we're missing recruiting goals. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So,
they would love a woke. They would love a woke military. Weak woke military.
Yep. Got my own theories about that. So.
John O'Stain's just answering a question, and I answered him because he says, "Where's it at?" He wanted to know how to get records. I said the records you want is your DD-214, and if you through the Freedom of Information Act, you can request military records, as I recall.
Let me help you out with that. Most people that request military records through a Freedom of Information Act are never going to get them back. They do it incorrectly. And the biggest thing they do is leaving out a guy's social security number. So the difference between a DD-214 and a Freedom of Information Act is just Privacy Act information. Next of kin, servicemen's group life insurance beneficiary, type of discharge, performance marks. They won't do that. But everywhere he served, every award he received, every school he went to, all the commands he was at, Freedom of Information Act. And if you really want to just do it the right way, go to POWnetwork.org. Mary at POW Network is a mature Marine Corps widow who does nothing but file these records all day long. She does them for donations for the whole prisoner of war thing in Vietnam was to get an accounting. But
that's POWnetwork.com.
.org. POWnetwork.org, and you will get them because she will file them correctly. She has access to some really crazy databases, and COVID really tore us up on the getting the records back. But now they're coming back, and you get them in a couple of weeks. We've gotten them back in a few days, but you have to. That's how they don't do it correctly. Now, if you want your father's DD-214, and you can do that. That's different.
Yeah, you can actually request that through the VA or Veterans Affairs, because
if a veteran will sign for you to get all his, it will do that. But you're never going to get a phony to sign and give you permission for his records. So
they'll never do that.
Freedom of Information Act, but you have to get that information. That's the number one thing people don't include in there. You're just never going to hear from them. So they write me all the time. I've tried, I can't get it. Well, here, go to the info at POWnetwork.org, and Mary will get you the records. So
I just shared the link in the chat, so if anybody who does want to check it. Kingsport Call says that, by the way, hi, King. How you doing, buddy? My father is a vet who is still alive. Both my grandfathers are vets. I tried to join when I was in my early 20s, but they wouldn't let me because I had felonies. I will tell you this. A buddy of mine had a felony conviction for drugs, cocaine, in fact, and he even got a neck tattoo while he was in prison for it. But the Marines were going to accept him when he had shown he'd been clean for years, held a job, and the governor was going to expunge his record. And the Marine Corps said they would take him if he'd had his record expunged. So that's one thing you can look at, Kingsport Cal.
And probably worked out for him. He probably turned into a good Marine. The guy that tattooed my elbows was in prison for killing a guy that insulted his girlfriend at a Quickie Mart. And this is in the early 70s, a convenience store. He shot him. And he went to jail, and he had so many tattoos wherever he could get. It was all prison. He was a Cholo, Mexican guy. Great friend of mine. And they wouldn't let him in the Marine Corps. He had so many tattoos. They sent him to a psychiatrist, but the Navy would take him, and he was a good sailor. Guys when they're so young, it's so easy to screw up. So these felonies, misdemeanors, you really got to take a good look at it. There has to be a line drawn there somewhere. But just because a guy screws up, shouldn't make him ineligible for that. It's a big deal being a vet.
And I think that
look at them.
It also depends on that branch's needs at the time. They will change they'll shorten that line of crossing. Because I remember, like my brother Steve, flat-footed as fuck. solid good Marine. That normally that'd be 4F, and they took him in a heartbeat during the draft. You know,
do you guys believe in the next 2 to 4 years, 2 to 4, they're going to have to reinstitute the draft? Because right now,
I think that
that's where I think it's going to go. Conscripting, you know, a lot of countries worked with a lot of conscripts. They treated
the backdoor draft doesn't work either.
You serve your 2 years as a conscript in Turkey and Thailand, you know, some of the other countries. So, you know, that worked too. But when in 87, Secretary Webb, he was a Marine Corps Vietnam vet, Navy Cross recipient. His big push was a 600 ship Navy, and we came that close to doing it. And you're not going to fill that with guys that wear sweaters around their neck and play tennis all day long. You know, the military is not designed for guys who played the violin when they were growing up. We were rough, tough guys who played football. We broke bones. We bullied. We teased. We snapped bra straps on the girls. I mean, you're just in trouble the minute you want these guys today. You know, the stuff we could do, but the military is going to have to relax some of this stuff at some point. Yeah.
Well, something's going to happen, in my opinion, that's going to really knock the shit out of us. Okay. It's going to be 9/11, but it's going to be 9/11 on steroids. I believe that. And just watching what the hell's been going on the last 2 weeks. Okay. 2 weeks. I can see it coming, and I hope to hell I'm wrong, but by God, I don't think I am. And you're going to see the old pendulum swing back the other way.
I wouldn't be surprised. I know, like celebrity veterans, guys like Harvey Keitel has been preaching for years that they need to bring the draft back. He's like, you know, because, you know, according to psychologists, and that's what was mentioned in the book, Generation Kill, that the volunteer military has a higher ratio of people willing to pull that trigger on an enemy. But the fact is there's so few of them, and it's getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, but if you got a shitload of bad guys coming through the razor wire.
Oh, everybody, Elaine.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And
even journalists will pick up a weapon.
I was there and I saw it. You damn right he will. You damn ask Galloway. Galloway
fucking picked up an M16 and fought with the army to fight back the North Vietnamese.
I think I don't understand any of what's going on. It's a terrible, frightening time. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, but this is the deliberate attempt to feminize the military, to dumb down the machismo in men. This is by design. And all you got to do is look at the movie Demolition, man, if you want to see where this is going.
Oh, yeah.
It's a joy
that
world
keeps
out there.
getting brought up, man. It keeps being brought up, that movie, because they nailed it.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Well, you know, look at the Air Force Academy. I put up a thing on my Facebook page months ago where they were having what the hell are those classes called where they want to come in and turn everyone either into a bisexual or transsexual, and basically wanted the cadets to stop using the terms mother and father or mom and dad. Okay, they wanted a non-gender specific term. I mean, Jesus, the freaking Air Force Academy and West Point critical race theory, give me a break. I'm telling you, we're going to bleed, dude.
It doesn't
we're going to
belong
bleed
in there.
Well, we have general officers climbing all over themselves today. It's a lot of politics that's going on. I listened to a good thing the other day. During World War II, there were 2 million guys in the military, and there were 3 5-star guys. It was MacArthur, Nimitz, and Eisenhower won that war. It's those 3 guys. They're climbing over the top of each other now. There's no telling. I forget the number that they said in there, but it's by design. It's deliberate, and it's nuts, and it's the gun things are trying to go away. That I'm going to be killed by somebody that because you take my gun, I can't defend myself, and you don't want me to be able to speak up. You want to control us, and we're supposed to depend on you. You're supposed to be the help. Well, I'm watching what's going on right now with all this other stuff, and I don't know how we recover from what's going on. That come over. I know the only thing slowing those Chinese down right now is how many guys have guns in this country and are law-abiding guys. And they just take them away, dumbing down the military. It's worrisome. So
It's
careful what you wish
worrisome.
for, but it's like the Hunt for Red October. If you watch that movie, or at the end that Russian sub commander that is just relentless going after to kill the other Russian sub and all of them on. He's just going insane there and just making all these decisions. And he gets that torpedo. It comes back on him, and his executive officer, the last thing he said is, "You've killed us all." It's too late at that point to say you're sorry, to try to get us all out of our dresses and get us into some combat boots after you've done this and taken it too far. I mean, we're losing police officers. I mean, where's the help? So it's terrible what's going on, but it's being done by design, I think, and it's really
it is
hard.
absolutely by design. And we talked about it on our morning show. Our morning show is a UFO show because Don, by the way, if I never mentioned this Don,
the other side.
I'm used to being on the side you're on. So Don is a very well-known ufologist. He helped co-run UFO magazine back in the 90s, had 2 top UFO shows on the radio, and he's got a face for radio. And
yes, I do.
But man, we like to do the UFO thing, but creating this show is a way of celebrating the military and celebrating fellow veterans, because I like doing this. I said when I started working for Dale Dye, I said, I didn't get to do much when I was in the military. So it's what I do with the rest of my life that's going to matter. And I'm going to celebrate veterans. I want to celebrate everybody that served or people that are active duty. I will have them on the show and talk to them, make them celebrities, because we are fixated with the wrong fucking people in this country. We really are. For me, military are celebrities. Guys like, what's his name? Edward Gallagher. I love that guy. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And what happened was he pissed off some namby-pamby snowflake guys that passed buds, but they had a thing out for him, because even Navy SEALs get woke fuckers in them. Everybody's got woke fuckers in them. Everybody. And they didn't like him. And so they went after him. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I've spoke to Eddie. His lawyer, Tim Palatori, had gone through my training course several times. For his wedding, newlywed, I pushed him and his wife out of a helicopter into the river. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, we would cast guys out of the helicopters, and then he was down, and I invited the both of them to do it. And Tim, I was quite flattered by that. Tim was a JAG officer in the military, and he got out. And there's this whole Eddie Gallagher thing was going on. Tim did that because of my course. He'd go through that. He got a real admiration for SEALs, because that's all the instructors I had. I had the best guys down there. I was quite flattered that Tim would bounce things off of me during that trial. He'd go, "What do you think of that? What would something like that be?" And it got so bad with the story. See, if somebody doesn't, and I've experienced this myself, and not in SEAL team, but if you tell somebody a story that apple is red, and it doesn't pay any attention to them, then you tell them, well, there's 2 apples that are red, and they doesn't do it. Well, there's 3 of them, and one of them's blue. You keep escalating the story until you get somebody's attention. And as Tim said, by the time those clowns realized what is going on, the train had left the station. There was no taking it back. So not only did Eddie shoot a little girl, he shot her in a little red Punjab. He describes this cute little, and I don't know what mindless guy could have done that stuff, but I know that Eddie did not give them enough ice cream and recesses for playtime. And they resented him. They had a very thankless mission over there. And it wasn't by Eddie's design, but Eddie would tell them to shut up and get ready. Let's go. Shut up. I'm your platoon chief. And that's a hard position to be in. You've got more experience than anybody else in the platoon, the officers as well. I was platoon chief. I was the all-knowing, all-seeing guy with all the experience. The officers are only there for a short while. Guys didn't like that. And for whatever reason, because you only get, it's like being a parent, especially with your first platoon, you make mistakes and you don't treat people the right way. And you can look back at it and say, well, okay, I could have done that better and things like that. So you just don't get it all perfect. You learn, you make mistakes, but he rubbed those guys the wrong way.
And they had it out for him.
They screwed him out of a Silver Star, and they were going to have to go back through Eddie's course. And so when you are done with that platoon, you start retraining back up. You go, they say in SEAL team, no day is the same. No evolution is the same. There's not the same day ever, but it's the same evolutions. So whenever every platoon you get in, you're going back through land navigation, you're going back through land warfare, close quarter combat, combat swimmer, over the horizon navigation, your submarine work. You keep doing that. And as platoon chief, you get better and better at it. Well, those guys, Eddie was going to a training detachment, and those guys were going to have to go through his course of instruction. When they got back to Little Creek, he was going to turn. I wasn't there. I don't know the story, but I know who's shunned and who's not. And it's not Eddie. So terrible thing. That
Eddie got the pardon, and he deserved it, in my opinion. I believe he deserved it, and I think apparently you do too.
There were some mistakes made over there.
No, I feel you on that, dude. I do. Everybody makes, look, that's the thing about being in the military. When mistakes are made, you got to find ways of living with it, or you don't. And I'm sure that, his experiences, I hope he puts out a book. I really do. I like
my thing about the apples and stuff was, they went to their command and the command didn't listen to them. So the story.
So they just kept making it worse and worse.
They got it better. And they tried to get somebody to listen to them, and they would not. Now this is
NCIS, by the way, NCIS is an enemy to active duty personnel. I know the shows are great, but that is not the real NCIS. And I love in the new. By the way, I really would like to talk to you after you see Terminalist, because he is not fond of NCIS. And calls him out on it. You guys aren't like us. You're not. We're not on the same team.
Eddie realized that, and the other one is it's like Tom Cruise in the movie in Guantanamo Bay. What was that?
Yeah, he was a JAG lawyer. Yeah,
here's what he said. He said
a few good men
trying guys for bags of oregano. There's nothing. The only people that are more bored than JAG officers or NCIS are base police officers. There's no armed robberies going on. There's no murders, no gang activity on the base, no drugs in a corner and prostitution. It's a sleepy, thankless job. And the only thing that JAG officers really have to do, and NCIS, is listen to that word SEAL. Because everything else is just...
That's career building. That's what they refer to it
boring. As. There's nothing to it.
Like internal affairs.
Into a SEAL.
Yeah,
it's like internal affairs in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to watch out for guys that I looked for certain tells with guys when I was in the Army that I knew were there from counterintelligence that were watching to see who we were, try to buddy up with us. And they're testing for holes. They're looking for people that are a weak member of the team. And I'm just glad I never had to really get serious about that shit. But what is this? Somebody says, Bush McFadden says, do the SEALs have safe spaces now, too, in case their fifis get a boo-boo?
Well, it's just like that was a shameful thing that would happen, but it's like Tim put it the best way. The train has left the station. They were all, in the end, trying to get Eddie screwed, and ultimately they did. And by the time when that train left, they all went, oh, my God, what have we done now? And
have you heard anything about those fuckers?
Ostracized, terribly. They've never.
Did they get kicked from the teams?
I don't think anybody got kicked. I don't think they could do that and really get away with it. They wouldn't. It wouldn't have looked like retribution. But everybody knows that. Nobody likes that stuff. So, dark time.
Dark time. Yeah,
we'll do something else now. I didn't like that.
Well, my girlfriend says that she brought up the fact that I also do a show called Military Monday, where we talk about either a classic TV show or film. I'm friends with actor Fahim Fazli. Like I said, he's always plays the Taliban or something, and he's in the movie 12 Strong, and he's busy doing a TV show right now. And as soon as he gets free, we're going to air that one. But I would actually like to just have you on for a few minutes just to interview and talk to you about Terminalist and your reaction to it, because I praise the hell out of that show. One of the moments that blew my mind, because like I said, working for Dale Dye, I learn a lot of shit, and he likes the fact that he doesn't have to correct me very often when I'm doing the artwork and shit like that. I get everything.
Why am I correcting you all the time?
It's because you hate me.
Oh.
But you know, one of the things that got my attention was he did a right degree turn. He also did a shoulder switch. I've never seen anybody do that in a film or TV show. Going up a stairwell opposite arm, so you have to switch. Nobody's ever done that before. And that caught my attention. I'm like, oh, wow. You know, because working for Dell, I noticed shit like that. And I was impressed with the show. I really was. A lot of it's more espionage and dealing with revenge. But the fact is, when the military stuff is going on, it's really spot on. And I'd like to get your reaction to that after you see it. And I do highly recommend the show. Doesn't mean much, but I do.
There you go. Yeah, I saw one of your folks on here write about his brother being a machinist mate, and it's not that Navy now. And it's got to be hard out there. I think I'd probably be in handcuffs if I went back on.
For the guys that are, for the ones that still treat it like a real military, dealing with this crazy shit, it's got to be hard.
What the Navy was when I joined it, and certainly it was little like it was in World War II, what those guys got away with. But the Navy has had a tradition since ships started sailing. If you want those guys to work, whether it was the British or anyone else, you're going to let them go on liberty. You're going to let them get drunk, let them get laid. You're going to bring them back to the ship. You're going to put them to work. That was the way the Navy worked. That's why we went to the Philippines. That's why we went to Thailand. We go on Western deployments. That's how the Navy operated. We need a lot of work out of you. It's a thankless, tough job. And we weren't looking over our shoulders there, you know, what we were doing now.
You know, that's Don, that's why the movie The Sand Pebbles, I think, was so great.
Mm-hmm.
The Sand Pebbles
like
was.
Yeah, there's a lot of the good old Navy movies out there. I've seen them all, but I'm a real fan of my favorite is The Bridges of Toko Ri. And
good film. Good film. By the way,
that's some boozing up boys. They're bar fighting and, you know, just things like that. We just got in a lot of trouble, and it was expected. You're a sailor. We want you to work and things like that. So nobody cared back then. Now it's just, man, you get in real trouble.
Can you believe that the director of The Sand Pebbles is the same director that did The Sound of Music and West Side Story?
I guess if you're directing, I don't know. I've not sat in that.
It's Robert Wise. He's an amazing director.
Multi-faceted and just making the movie. I don't know.
He was
the expert. That's why you get guys like Dale Dyer on there or something. But
Dale Dye is who the directors hire to make it more believable, you know, make it more accurate. But by the way, Don Ecker here, he actually interviewed the director of The Sand Pebbles, Robert Wise. I got to listen to that interview. It's a really good interview. Love that guy, man. It was a huge loss when he passed away. But so you like that was Toko Ri was the one you liked, the Bridges of Toko Ri, because that was Korean War, right?
Yeah, there's very few movies made about the Korean War, and certainly the Navy. And I'm struggling with the main character's name, but the ending of that movie just tore you up. But it was a really and see, that's where the other thing, like Navy SEALs, it goes into the movie Navy SEALs for a minute.
Navy that was SEALs, William Holden, by the way. He played Holden. Lieutenant Harry Brubaker.
Yeah, the Navy, like Guantanamo Bay, the Army, Sands of Iwo Jima, Navy SEALs. If the military likes the script, they will fully support that that movie. It's like Top Gun was done with all the fighter guys. It was done at Miramar. Navy SEALs. They had full access to the bases, submarines, aircraft carriers, helicopters, Sands of Iwo Jima, John Wayne, and the Marine Corps bases, all these. And then they can do a movie like Jack Nicholson in Guantanamo Bay and make the military look a little bad. Or they can do romance movies, Operation Petticoat. And when the military will really fully support a movie like that, it can't help but be good. They're going to give you all the tanks and the guns, the helicopters and all that, and they get something out of it. Then you watch a movie like G.I. Jane, and they're making up mocked up compounds, and they're painting civilian helicopters green. And Demi went to Bill Clinton, their buddy, and said the Navy won't support this movie G.I. Jane. And to Bill's credit, he said, if the Navy's not going to do it, I'm not going to tell them to do it. So, that's where they go civilian. And when you
Dale was originally the advisor for that, and he got pulled off. The minute the DOD got involved with it, they won't work with Dale. And so he got pulled off the project, which is sad. I think it would have been a better film.
God, I've not seen it to this point, so I just can't even.
Well, my problem was the SEER training scene. I heard
that one.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I know what the point of the story was supposed to be is that when you're a female with other male combatants, that they have to deal with this. And I understand it, but it would still never fucking happen. It's called conduct unbecoming. You would not have a senior instructor fucking do that. And so, yeah.
Well, my wife, I met her on the second ship that I served on. I served at 3 commands before I became a SEAL. And she was one of the first women on a Navy ship. It was USS McKee. It was in Point Loma. And I think there were 800 or 1,200 crew and 100 women. And she has had men come at her from every different angle and say just what men do and do that. And they never took offense to it. It was the USS Love Boat is what they might as well have called it, me and her on there. If the FBI would go into some of the spaces where me and her had some alone time on there with a black light, it looked like we'd been slaughtered.
Murder scene, a fucking murder scene.
And we had
somebody bled a lot in here.
We had a great time in the Navy together. And again, it was people looked the other way. It was one big happy family kind of thing. And that's now gone. That was to be kind of expected. You can't put men and women together like that and not expect things to happen.
Yeah, sparks are going to fly. That's how I met my wife that I married in the military. And,
well, the socialists can, Don.
Mm-hmm.
Socialists can.
Let's do some more social experiments on the military. Let's do that. Now, I've always been big on that. Why don't we do it to the NFL teams, make them do the same thing you're asking the military to do and see how they like it.
Well, I got to tell you, in the military, we knew something was going wrong during the Clinton administration when they started having stress cards. Do you remember that shit when that started? During basic training, specifically, I only know this for the Army, recruits were given a yellow card, and if they hold the yellow card up, drill sergeant can't talk to them.
There's all something like it's going that way. I did a training thing for I can't even remember who it is. Never mind. I was told I'd be if I gave that class on an Air Force base that they'd have escorted me off of the base.
Well, I know you got into a little hot water with some demolitions.
Oh yeah, well, you can't help but get.
I've seen the video and it's funny as hell. You're trying to teach demolitions and I guess the local township didn't like it.
You just blow it up. It's what demolitions are for, big shots and, things happen and ceilings come down. But I was pretty gifted at demolitions. So nobody ever got hurt. But those booms that go on, I can tell you, I did that. We'd set up for this demolition shot all day long. These guys are going through this demolition course. This is a grand finale. We've been blowing up. I had 1.5 tons of demolition for each platoon. So we did a lot. So the final day, we teach them how to use radio-controlled firing devices. And each radio-controlled firing devices, these things make the CIA green with envy, could hold 10 blasting caps. And there were 10 of them. So now you're talking 100 charges, and we had 2. So you're talking 200 charges. And we had painstakingly showed the guys laying all these out, and we had a range limit of, I think it was 50 pounds. Long story. But anyhow, I waited till it got dark. The field was loaded up with gasoline, demolitions, flares. I was a show off. I would special effects demolitions. And just as we get out there to do that, here comes this storm over the top of us. And it took the ceiling right on top of our heads. You could have poked it with a pull cube, but it was already set. It's getting lightning. We got electric demolition charges. This is going to get dangerous real quick. So I radioed range control, and I said, this is really going to get loud, but I got to get it off. The ceiling was there. So when you fire a shot and it hits that ceiling, it's going to bounce back down. It enhances it. And we lit those things off. It was about 2.5 minutes of just pure fury, pushing those buttons and all those caps going off. And the next morning, the range control guy was an Army guy. He was retired, and he had a thing for me anyhow. And here he comes out in the ranges. We're cleaning up, and his face is blood red. And
this is what I saw the other day on the video. It's hilarious.
And I go, oh my God, he's mad. And then he goes, what the fuck happened here last night? I got 2 reports. One's from a woman that said you knocked her house off its foundation, and one from a farmer who said all his sheep are aborting their lambs.
Their lambs.
Oh yeah. And so it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just that shot just went out over the city of Blackstone, Virginia, where Fort A.P. Hill was. I used to bend him out of shape. I'll give you another story if you want it.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I would set up these. I was a big demolition guy. Just I was the go-to guy for demolition. So we would set up these training exercises called time on target. And we would always try to get on and off a target in under 5 minutes. And so one of the things we do is if there was things that needed destroyed, is guys would run around and put a standard charge on, which is a 1 pound block of C4, and it had a piece of det cord off, and somebody else would run a trunk line all the way around, and guys would tie into it. And so it was always a problem getting target material out on these ranges. There was so much metal out there and blown up stuff on these Army ranges. You couldn't take a 6x8. You couldn't take a Hummer or a Jeep. You'd blow all the tires on them. We used to have to clean the road, this big shrapnel and vaporizing tanks and artillery, whatever. So you had to carry all this stuff out. And when you wanted to build these, I always tried to get at least 10 targets for them in various things. So they had to run around and designate somebody. And it was always a pain trying to get material to go out there that was light. So I go to the defense reutilization thing, the dump at the AP Hill, and I find all these water fountains. All the ones you drank out of in the school. I guess they ripped down a bunch of barracks and built them. And they were light. They're real tall. These things are like 4 feet tall. And they were light. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how light these things are. So I grabbed like 20 of them. I grabbed every one they had, because we had to walk them out on the range and set them up. And these were targets for the guys to do it. And I found out why they were so light after we did that thing. Those things are filled with tiny white styrofoam balls that cool the water in there. When I lit those things off, it looked like it was a snowstorm out there. It rained down. It looked like Mount Kilimanjaro. It was just a field of white. And here he comes again. How are we going to clean this up? And he is so mad at me. I'm trying to explain this, and he goes, well, you just explained to me why SEALs need to know how to blow up freaking water fountains.
This shit's
like, that's not what we were doing. He wouldn't hear anything of it. Conventional thinking, I just needed targets. I could have done the same thing with cases of beer bottles or anything. But yeah, so I run a few people ragged up there doing that stuff.
Well, God bless you, man. I love you, Don. You are so awesome, dude. I've been following you for over 10 years. 10 years on YouTube, and I never get tired of your videos. I will find, though, and this is true, and we're almost out of time here. I know we got to wrap up the show here in a moment, but if you watch American Idol or any of those shows where you got somebody that doesn't know how to fucking sing, get on there, think they can sing. That's what sometimes happens to me when I'm watching your video. Listening to them talk, I get the cringe factor, and I start feeling uncomfortable, like uncomfortable for them because they don't understand how stupid they sound, and that they're clearly not military, and it just. But dude, I consider it a valuable service because they think this is a victimless crime, what they're doing. And it should be a crime because they are hurting people. Yeah, and you know, a lot of people don't know this. They actually do this to get money. Sometimes they do it to get money. So they're taking money from the mouths of real veterans and their families when they do that shit.
Jobs that they take. That last guy I did, you know, I just posted it up on YouTube. He was getting a veteran's job, and he was a veteran. He didn't have to tell them he was a SEAL, but that got him to the head of the line. And so there's a lot of that, but I let the punishment fit the crime too. My bark was worse than my bite in the Navy and being a platoon chief and things like that. So I really want the story out of you. I want the story so other people can hear what you're claiming. And if I don't have to blast you all over the place and your name and all your stuff because you're so disturbing, I hate what you're doing. It's the story. And when I take one guy down just for the story, I take down all the Army guys, the Marines. People hear that and they go, I've heard that before. My neighbor tells that same story. So that's what I do. But I certainly let the punishment fit the crime. There are guys out there that I'll just keep hammering away at. And other guys, you know, I'll just tell the story, but I won't use their name or anything like that. And so I get the story. That's it.
And is that the dude that said he fought the Viet Cong? The one you posted 9 days ago?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Viet Cong that smashed.
I haven't watched that one. Last one I watched is Phony Navy SEAL of the Week. The Admiral speaks to Don Shipley, hater phony SEAL. The way he just goes, Vietnam! And I'm just like, oh my God.
We had just been goose and duck hunting for a few days. Those guys come up here. We take care of all the vets and everybody. And I just had him and I just handed him the phone and he started into that. So it's really good, the full length version. But his daughter, he had done such a number on her. He's such an abusive phony of talking her in circles. And if you watch the video, he would drop these hints. He would never come out and tell her he was a SEAL, but he liked making her work.
Right.
And so he would mention something, well, check out Bravo 10 Delta. And he would leave it at that. And so she's all these things that he would do. She's searching Bravo 10 Delta Navy, Bravo 10 Delta Marine Corps. And she would work for weeks on this thing. He'd drop another one. And he'd mention hotels and these just weird things and work that girl into a lather. He had just stepped back in her life. And I finally got the truth because he was claiming it was classified and she was glad, but very happy. But it took a long time for people don't want to call BS on somebody that they are worried is telling the truth. So they go to the ends of the earth to prove
people want to believe. It's the thing.
Every lie a liar tells. If you catch somebody telling you that he was a SEAL and you find out, then his claim of going to Harvard and Yale is pointless. It didn't happen. And it's just one lie after another. But the SEAL lie is the big one.
It's ridiculous. That is our cue that we have reached the end of the show.
Don, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it so much. And thank God you exist, man, because you are endless hours of entertainment. But on top of that, you serve a greater purpose. And you are an agent of karma. And I love agents of karma, my friend.
Well, my two Labrador retrievers, those are the best hunting dogs in the Eastern Shore of Maryland, are going nuts for me to get out there and do a little something with them. They're waiting for me patiently. So I had a great time with you guys. Well,
fantastic. Before we go, I want to give thanks to our chat, Tommy Ulrich, a friend of mine, Andy Morrow, Scott Lewis, Penny, Bush McFadden, Munka Jebus, come again, Christian Delorme, Dragon Ruse, Parrot Head, Zachariah 315, Joe's Atmosphere, Anima Confusa, who actually loves me. And if you ever hear from her, Don, just tell her, just go talk to Gary. Don't bug me. Kingsport Cal, Keto Simple, Gemma Louise Howells was here, the Peter Vickman fan site. And let's see. And that's it. Hey, guys, thanks a lot. Good viewership, good listeners, and a good show. Don, hope to have you back again. Definitely to talk about Terminal List. I really want to get your input on that. Okay. And again, thank you again for being here. Don Ecker, anything before we go?
Nope, that pretty much covered it, pal.
No. You always are some bitch.
Oh, yep. Sorry, you do.
Damn sons of bitches.
Thank you, Chanel, for producing the show. Sing us out, baby.